But so we wanted to answer a lot of questions. We had like some really good questions this week, better than they usually are. Usually we get a lot of asking you for like pictures of your feet.
Yeah.
Some people just say like a word.
Yeah, guys, if I put like a question or topics.
Well, topics could be if someone just says like steak.
Yeah.
Maybe they want you to talk about steaks or something. But so that's a topic.
If you submit it, like give us a little bit more. Sometimes I can like figure it out, but like I'm not, when they're just like, oh, show us your feet. Like that's not really like a question.
Right.
But whatever.
That you just say that's something totally different. Just ask for, Venmo me and I'll send you pictures of my feet.
Exactly. Okay. First question is, any advice for a BJJ white belt who wants to start MMA?
I mean, a BJJ white belt is so many different things. It could be like an NCAA national champion wrestler who, just started jiu-jitsu and everyone starts at white belt. It could be, a world champion kickboxer and starts at white belt. But if you're saying like,
I'm assuming that's where they're starting.
Off the street, you never did any martial arts, and then you enter your first jiu-jitsu school. I mean, it really depends on like your age, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it. But if you're just like a younger person, I would just say like a younger person that's kind of like athletic but never did martial arts, you start off jiu-jitsu. I think that's the best place to start. And I think you should do as many competitions in jiu-jitsu as you can. Try, any tournament, any super fight you can get, just compete as much as you can. And like, at least you got to be like a pretty solid blue belt, I think, until.
I almost think if you're just starting with, that's the first time you're grappling, I almost think you should be like a purple belt, like compete through blue belt and then get to purple belt and then maybe start thinking about MMA. But if you're like a Division I wrestler, I still think that you need to be at least a blue belt before you should take an MMA fight.
Yeah. And think about it too.
That's a
when you're taking an MMA fight, I'm talking like amateur. So you're still working on everything before you get to the pro level. But yeah, and then I think you should when you're doing jiu-jitsu, if your goal is to do MMA, you need to start wrestling right away. I think if you just start jiu-jitsu and you wait a couple years to start wrestling, now you're a jiu-jitsu person, your whole game's off. I think you need to start wrestling right away so you're aware of like not just conceding to your back all the time. Where if you only train jiu-jitsu, especially at a jiu-jitsu gym where there's not other MMA people, your game is going to be, I struggled with that in the beginning.
Where if you're playing spider guard and grabbing.
I mean, I'm long and I had like a good guard, and I did just jiu-jitsu and competed all the time, but I was doing a lot of gi and no gi too, but I was all guard. Then when you start MMA, you get taken down and you're like, oh, I got a good guard. Well, if you don't submit anyone, then you're losing.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, now you got to change your whole game and got to learn how to be better at passing and top and pressure and takedowns and scrambles.
Exactly. Coming up off bottom. I think that the reason you're starting jiu-jitsu is to become an MMA fighter, I don't think of it as jiu-jitsu then. I think of it as just grappling.
Yeah.
So you have to be like wrestling and jiu-jitsu together, and then you become like a grappler. And then, but you need both.
It's funny, when I started MMA, like everyone would say, you need to train in the gi because that's how you learn the fundamentals of jiu-jitsu. I kind of think differently now. I think if you're starting jiu-jitsu and your goal is MMA, I don't think you should do the gi. I think if you're training at a good gym where they're teaching you, they can teach you fundamentals and no gi. I think if you train in the gi, it's like, I don't know, for me personally, I just like conceded a guard and you don't really learn how to get on top that much. I think that you should learn how to do, if your goal is MMA, you start off at a good no-gi school, or if it's not that great at like MMA transitioning, then you do no-gi jiu-jitsu and you make sure you do a wrestling class, even if you have to go to a different gym.
Yeah. And no matter what, if you come from any wrestling background, if Jordan Burroughs or Gable Stevenson was like, I'm going to fight MMA now, like, they need to become a blue belt first. They would become a blue belt quickly, but they should have like at least a year of jiu-jitsu, real training, like not just, like live rounds, like attending classes to learn how to like, escape a triangle, learn how to, not get swept,
I think if you're starting
it's a totally different sport. You need to, at least if you come from a high level wrestling background, you need to be a legit blue belt. If you are starting from the street, I think you should just probably get to like purple belt before I would do it. Unless you develop like crazy striking and your takedown defense is amazing.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't matter.
And I think too, like if you want to do MMA, you still need to do the jiu-jitsu classes. I think a lot of people, whether they have other martial arts experience or not, they think, oh, well, the fighters are in this class, so I want to go in there.
Or private lessons.
Yeah. And even if you can keep up with them for like live goes, you're not learning techniques, especially like I think wrestlers that want to transition, they go right into, an advanced like or competitive no-gi class, and they're going and the no-gi people that are really good like going with the wrestlers because it helps them, but it's not really helping you learn actual escapes and moves. So I think doing classes are super important.
And then also as a class that you have a variety of training partners, you could go with other people who are white belts, you could go with, black belts, and you need to be going with people who are like, you could, execute new techniques on. If you're going right to like a pro MMA, like grappling class, then you're going to rely on just like what you already know and like take someone down, just stay in their guard and try not to get submitted. You're not really learning, but it's always a good place to start.
Yeah.